Continuing with the outline into this video, I want to speak about demons, egregores, angels, and quantum physics. This strange connection between the modern research and some ancient ideas that people had, like that of demonic possession. I know it might be a bit of a strange title, and a lot of people might be put off by it, and it probably is not gonna do as the other videos have been doing, but it is my goal to approach even the toughest topics and the topics that people feel highly uncomfortable approaching, because it is by going into these hard topics where we can truly get a grasp of what really is going on. When I was writing this outline, I had to go into these reports from hellish experiences and reading one after the other, just to at the beginning it was a bit tough for me, because people go through this very vividly, and they go through these experiences also in entheogens, these bad trips, and they really think that they have been possessed. They really think that there's some evil force in the universe. And now, while all of this might be a little bit strange to understand, it might be that all is but a natural part of reality, just a basic dynamic of reality. And it is part of what I want to achieve with this outline, to go into these hard topics. Something that I've been doing lately in my videos is to put a question in the introduction, so people might understand a bit better what I'm going to be talking about, because these topics are very hard for me to try to put across. So I guess in this video the question would be, if the theories of the unified field of consciousness are correct, could these individual units of consciousness meet each other, both the good ones and the bad ones? And if so, could this explain this idea of demons and angels? Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. The reason why I want to approach specifically this idea of demonic possession, which I've done in the past, and I'm going to link the video here, but I think that I can build upon that with some better ways to understand it, and some other tools that we can use to understand this topic. And the reason why I approached it in the first place is because in the book, in the outline, I have a chapter called Demonic Possession, which goes into the scene and the concept of sin and Hamartia that I've been speaking about. So the whole thing comes from the idea that Jesus was a healer as well as someone who would cast out demons. He would exorcise people. This concept of exorcism comes from the scriptures, the Christian scriptures, and yeah, there are a lot of places in the scriptures where there's this concept of Jesus casting out demons. And as I said, it all might be something completely different, or a different way to understand these things, but it is all connected. So in the same way that sin is connected to health, I spoke about this in the previous videos related strictly to the outline, and how perhaps somebody's thought patterns could bring about something catastrophic to their lives based on the thought patterns, which, as we have seen, this could literally affect reality. Now, okay, this sounds very far-fetched, but let's assume that our thoughts can modify our own reality, and this is what is all over the scriptures. This is what they're talking about. Jesus assumes that the people have brought whatever illness, whatever issue they have on themselves, because they are quote-unquote sinners, But as I said, this concept of sin is them bringing Hamartia, them creating a chain of events that are gonna develop into something catastrophic. It's not really about guilt. It's not about this concept of sin that we have in the dogmatic narrative. It's about something completely different. It has to do with his process of prayer that he's always spouting about and going over and over. And you have to go into the kingdom, and you must not have any negative feelings towards other people, and you must do these things. It's sort of like kind of a ritual. He's speaking about thought patterns. So in the same way that this quote-unquote sin, this hamartia, is related to health, he assumes that health issues might come from quote-unquote demonic possession. Now, I want to make a parenthesis here, because as soon as I start going into this, a lot of people might say, okay, yeah, this is a little bit too far-fetched, we cannot create with our own thoughts, that's the thing from this new age nonsense, from the secret of people trying to manifest based on their thoughts and wants. This is, and the title of this video, I am relating these ideas of demons and angels and all these conscious phenomena with quantum physics. Now, what was the main question that quantum physics put into the table? This was the observer effect. This was the fact that when there is consciousness applied to a physical phenomena, the physical phenomena changes. And the initial factor in this interaction with the physical world is observation, which is why they call it the observer effect. At the end of the day, even though the whole scientific community is divided on this, what we are looking at is the fact that we can alter reality, or what we perceive as reality, with our thoughts. It's not with our eyes. It's not our observation. Our observation is a mere tool. It has been confirmed that our observation is nothing. It's simply the gathering of information. Then our brain consumes this information, and our brain creates an image. It renders an image within us. It's not. This goes into some of the other theories about the holographic. It's all very confusing. So it can be a bit complicated. But in any case, let's assume that we can shift reality with our conscious process, and this is what is being said here. This is the assumption from Jesus to these victims of diseases and all these things, that they brought this upon themselves by being sinners, or that there is the influence of quote-unquote demonic possession. Now, if we move from the scriptures and from the philosophies into the current research of consciousness, what do we find? We find these near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and these entheogen-based experiences where people just discard their bodies and say that they are having experiences outside their body. So the assumption here is that a physical body is not necessary for consciousness to exist, or for conscious phenomena to exist, the same as what happens in dreams. In dreams you are conscious, but you don't really have a body. You can be floating, you can have a very abstract form, you can render some sort of a body in a blurry vision, but you are having conscious experiences without a real body, because your body is asleep. Your waking physical reality is asleep. And this is what happens in altered states of consciousness. There is no body. So this is what the theories of the unified field of consciousness, the theories of consciousness, state, that the body is not necessary for there to be consciousness. Now, one of the concepts that I'm starting to use this concept because I like the way that Tom Campbell approaches these ideas. His concept is individuated units of consciousness. So even without a body, there might be individuated units of consciousness. Now, when we go into the research on entheogens, we have these people who are reporting these quote-unquote entities which are abstract in nature, that they could be made of geometric shapes, they could be, purple ladies, or dragon-like, serpent-like creatures, or machine elves, or self-dribbling basketballs, as Terence McKenna once explained from one of his experiences. I've read reports from all sorts of things, from cardboard box shaped demons to the more natural and the more concurrent ideas of people seeing religious characters in their experiences, and even as they are depicted in art. They see the European Jesus with the stigma, and they see the Buddha, how they think it might be. We don't really know how they see it, because, as I said, we cannot see another person's mental image. Not even with all the technology that our current scientists think they have. They cannot see another person's mental image. In any case, what we could conclude from all of this is that conscious phenomena is very fluid in terms of forms. It seems that these individuated units of consciousness can acquire different types of avatars in these states, in these realms, in these spaces of consciousness, in order to interact with each other. So it seems that people see themselves as balls of energy and all the aforementioned things. It seems that we are not these physical bodies. So it could be possible that when we speak about angels, and when we speak about demons, and when we speak about demonic possession, and when we speak about all these things, it can be the dynamic and the relation between all of these individuated units of consciousness coming together. So if in this unified field of consciousness where, in near-death experiences, people, and also all the other altered states of consciousness, people say that they can manifest any setting with their thoughts. They can go anywhere with their thoughts, and this is also included in the Tibetan Book of the Dead and in some other, scriptures. They said that you can move through mountains, you can go anywhere you want, you can create anything you want, your own piece of heaven, your own mansion. And you can come into contact with anyone. All your dead relatives, anyone you want to have a conversation with, you can just manifest them or come into their presence. This is what is so common in near-death experiences. A lot of people experience this reunion with some of their relatives who have already passed through to the other side, and they say that they don't come as old, they don't come as as they died. They choose their own age in which they want to present themselves. So it seems that all this conscious phenomena is very fluid. So if this theory of these individuated units of consciousness going on and about all over the metaphysical planes of existence, just like we as individuals in human bodies, as individuals, we go on about on our own business. If this theory of these individuated units of consciousness is correct, and the theory of the unified field of consciousness is correct as well, then everything is connected. There's no separation between us and next consciousness, but at the same time there is a separation, there is sort of a boundary. So these coming into contact with each other could be a very natural thing. We could be in contact just like we are in dreams, or like when we go on the streets with a bunch of people. You can find people who say good day to you, and you can find someone who gives you a bad stare. Especially if you're in a big city, you can see people who are have different moods and different attitudes, different personalities. It is very likely that also if there was to be a metaphysical world of, we can call it souls, we can call it spirits, we can call it again individuated units of consciousness, there could be different personalities to them, or different essences, different nature to them. Some of them could be good, and some of them could be evil, which a lot of people say this evil is not really real. What they are is that they are ignorant, they are away from source, as some of the New Age spiritualist people like to call them. They are just away from source, they don't understand the truth, and due to the laws of free will, they are allowed to do anything, because it is supposedly one of the abilities of these individuated units of consciousness is having all the tools of the unified field of consciousness at their hands, so they can do whatever they want. So there's a lot of in the literature of this, in the hypnosis regressions and all these things, they say that there is this concept, this idea that when people die, some of them stay and stick around in the physical world as spirits. They stick around in bars if they used to drink, or places where they reminded of their earthly vices or things that they used to like. So there's this common understanding that perhaps when a group of alcoholics get together, they get all these spirits who used to like that ambience, who used to like that those things, and just incite them to keep drinking, because through them they sort of get the experience of that drinking, of that binging. Even though they are already dead, they are just spirits who are trying to relive the experience through the living in these ways. And they say that they can affect their thoughts, or get inside their thoughts, or at least influence them in some way. Now that's going into the fringe again, and this is something that not a lot of people could understand, that could accept, but it might be just a simple dynamic of the universe, a simple dynamic of reality, and it might just come into someone as a thought, as something of that nature, something very basic, not really like seeing a ghost that is gonna tell them to drink and to go binging or whatever. It might be just a simple thought, a simple influence. And the same thing could happen in an opposite way, when there is like a joyful occasion, when there is something good going on, perhaps benevolent or quote-unquote good spirits or angels could be attracted to that situation, or simply people or individuated units of consciousness. It could be even more abstract essences, just a simple feelings, simple thoughts of righteousness, of good things could come into those places. And so a lot of people in their experiences say that everybody has angels around them, and they describe these angels as just different shapes of lights, different energies, vibrations and whatnot. So we are delving into something that we don't understand. I don't understand it. The scientists do not understand it. But people keep bringing it up in the reports on altered state of consciousness. This other world, this metaphysical world that we don't see in our waking reality. All these people going into altered state of consciousness say, yeah, it is real, it exists. There are disincarnate entities all around. The realms sometimes collide into each other. And this goes in hand with all these unified theories of consciousness, with the theories of the holographic universe, as I've been saying. If there's the physical reality, there's gotta be somewhere from where that physical reality comes from. If the physical reality is the product, there's have to be an origin. There has to be a code for it. And this seems to be the dynamic and the relation that a lot of people manage in this altered state of consciousness. And even Jesus himself, as I've been saying, he was always speaking about these two worlds, the world of flesh and the world of spirit. And as he said in one of the one of the passages that I've gone to just speaking about this theory of the holographic universe. I'm gonna link the video somewhere around here. So he goes into this whole concept that whatever you bind on earth is bound on heaven, or whatever you bind on heaven is bound on earth. He speaks about this correlation between heaven and earth, which might be because there's nothing up there. If you go into space, there's nothing in space. Perhaps there is, but what he seems to be talking about is this other world, this metaphysical world, this world of spirit that he keeps talking about on and on and on. This Father, this ocean of everything that is within you and outside you, as I've spoken about also. He seems to have this all-encompassing view of the universe. Now, there's another passage that I in the book I mentioned when I start to speak about this demonic possession, and that is in the Gospel of Thomas, saying 29, where he says, it goes like this: Jesus said, "If the flesh came into existence because of the Spirit, it is a marvel. But if the Spirit came into existence because of the body, it is a marvel of marvels. But as for me, I wonder at this, how this great wealth made its home in such poverty." Gospel of Thomas, saying 29. Now, there's a lot to unpack in this verse, and I will leave the last bit for the next video. But one of the things that we have to look into this is that he is making reference to these two worlds, the world of the flesh and the world of the spirit, as I've been speaking about this correlation that he makes. And there he says that the spirit gave way to the flesh. So first there was spirit, and then from the spirit came the flesh. And this goes into some of the other deeper apocryphal texts, and especially one that I approached at the end of this first part of the outline, which was the one that just blew my mind away and that led me into different avenues of research. And that is this whole idea that everything came from the invisibilities. And first there was this world of spirit. There's this world of forms, as Plato speculated. He had his theory of forms. He said there's a place where the perfect tree exists. Perhaps this is just a place of forms, and then reality is based on that. And then we have the allegory of the cave, and so on and so forth. I might approach that topic at some point, but we have this notion in our subconscious mind that there's this world of spirit. Even the Celtic or some other ancient cultures and societies had this idea that there was this world of spirit, this underworld, and then there's reality. So he is speaking about this. He's speaking that everything came from this world of spirit and it became flesh. But now he says that is a marvel. But he goes on to say that if spirit comes from the flesh, that is a marvel of marvels. Which leads me into the other option for this quote-unquote demonic possession, and that is the creation of egregores. Now, the concept of egregores sound like something very spooky, and indeed it is all throughout the occult literature, and it seems to be related with some rituals of creating a demonic entity that is gonna serve someone. But basically what it is a thought form, and it is created by the conscious focus on creating this entity. Now, it is also created as a collective thing. So, in all these rituals where people gather together in rows with different tools like daggers and candles and incantations and all of these things, trying to create an egregore, a demon-like thought form or being. This is the whole theatrical aspect of it, but in reality, egregores could be a real thing, and it could be for positive and for worse. And I think it is related to this concept that Jesus speaks about, that perhaps just as individual units of consciousness, so let's think about primal forms. there's this idea that we as individuals are part of something even larger than us. So there's a primordial being that splits in different beings, and we are individual units of this larger being. And as part of who we are, if we can manifest, our dead relatives in our near-death experiences, if we can manifest different settings, there is this idea that we could even manifest another individual unit of consciousness. And we do this often in collective groups. So this is the concept of an egregore. This is a collective. It can be a club, it can be a political party, as I say. These are thought forms that are created and that can influence and that gain life. And if you think about this, about the collective consciousness and how it works, when we have political theories or political conspiracies and things of that nature, they can track on their own. Now that we have social media, we can see these phenomena easily occurring in viral trends or viral videos, or this concept where scientists working on a cure for a specific disease somewhere in the world, suddenly suddenly a different group of scientists find this cure in a different part of the world at the same time, because there's some sort of a connection. There's this thought form floating around. And if, as I've been saying, if the unified theories of consciousness are correct, then all of these thought forms are all over the place. Some are positive and some are negative. And now that could be the reality behind demonic possession, and it does not have to be an evil ritual with blood. It does not have to be something absolutely demonic. It could be simply a thought form from someone who is away from truth, and a thought form who likes pestilence or death or all these negative feelings. The thought form that is made of negative feelings. There are some real theories about this. I'm gonna see if I can find a video from someone speaking about. So a lot of people are doing this research that I'm doing on these negative experiences and these negative reports from hellish experiences and whatnot. And I found someone doing a very interesting one on these the hellish experiences, and he says that basically what people are doing is just going into these altered states of consciousness and going into the realms of these negative egregores, which absolutely makes sense. It could be possible that if all these thought forms are floating around in this unified field of consciousness, having the wrong attitude, or how they say that vibration and states of consciousness are very important. If you vibrate or just are related somehow to these negative feelings, with these negative thoughts, and if we have the capacity and the ability to create anything that we want based on our thoughts, well, we're gonna be in that situation where we find ourselves surrounded by perhaps these negative entities or these negative thought forms, or even just basic negative feelings, and places where we don't want to be in this extended version of our consciousness. So it is likely that perhaps when Jesus was speaking about these demons and these bad, evil spirits, it's simply thought forms that could have attached into people, creating negative effects in them, negative thoughts or negative consequences in their bodies, creating illnesses and things of that nature. It could be but a basic dynamic of reality, which by the law which guides such nature can be easily countered by the creation of a positive thought form. This could be what lies behind this emphasis on the ancient early Christian scriptures and some different philosophies. This emphasis on morality, on love, on positivity, on righteousness. Because it could very well be that the universe is a matrix which absorbs everything we create with our conscious thoughts, creating all these thought forms, which maybe they cannot be erased. They can only be expanding as the universe itself. There are a lot of alternate states of consciousness experiences where people are coming with the report that the universe is expanding with everything you think. And as even Jesus said, every word you utter will be accounted for in Judgment Day. This could be very basic aspects of reality. And if all these theories on consciousness turned out to be even half truth, just like it is mentioned in ancient philosophies, it could be that we are way more powerful than we think we are. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.